Finance Minister Favour Williams today made her closing contribution to the budget debate, making an adjustment to the sugary drinks tax after much pushback from the industry. Joel Crosskill tells us more.
The final words of the 2026-27 budget debate fall to Finance Minister Favour Williams, whose closing presentation was less than complimentary of the proposed revenue measures mentioned in the presentations of both the Leader of the Opposition, Mark Golding, and those of the Opposition spokesperson on finance, Julian Robinson, placing an X beside a number of PNP proposals.
Madam Speaker, the maths is not matching. Madam Speaker, the Leader of Opposition and the spokesman on finance both spoke to e-invoicing to generate additional revenues. Thank you for that. I welcome the public discussion on e-invoicing for all the benefits that it will provide. Madam Speaker, contrary to what the opposition spokesman on finance would have us believe, there are no revenues to be earned from e-invoicing that the opposition spokesman on finance could credibly include in the budget for this upcoming fiscal year. There is no magic bullet of e-invoicing gains that every global expert knows take years to materialize. So, Madam Speaker, I'm going to X out that figure, that 8.6 billion.
On the issue of the digital nomad proposal.
The proposal from the spokesman on finance reflects a worthwhile instinct, but it illustrates the difference between identifying a promising concept and presenting a fully developed fiscal instrument. Madam Speaker, the issue is not that the idea lacks potential, but that it has been advanced without the level of policy architecture, implementation detail, and fiscal realism required for serious budget planning. Speaker, I will also X that figure out for this upcoming fiscal year 2020.
Minister Williams then addressed the opposition's proposal to take an additional $1 billion from the Bank of Jamaica.
Of all the things the spokesman on finance said, the one that alarmed me the most is that he said he would take, and that was his word, he would take an additional $1 billion from the Bank of Jamaica. Madam Speaker, the Bank of Jamaica, by law, Mr. Lawyer, opposition leader, yes, determines the level of dividends that can reasonably be transferred in any year to the central government. There are strict guidelines in law. It is not advisable that the Minister of Finance calls the Bank of Jamaica and takes an additional $1 billion. So what happens if you need $20 billion, $100 billion, $200 billion? Would you simply take it? A government cannot simply ask the Bank of Jamaica for funding. The amendments to the Bank of Jamaica Act, which established the inflation targeting regime and central bank independence, places explicit and intrinsic guardrails around how resources can move from Bank of Jamaica to government. And so I say to the opposition spokesman on finance, do not try to sell to Jamaicans the notion that you can simply take $1 billion from the Bank of Jamaica. We've worked too hard to achieve a relatively stable inflation environment for anyone to try to undermine that very important pillar of our economy.
Joel Crosskill, CVM News.